Hi, welcome to Math and Computer Tutorial channel. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video. Hi, for today's video, I will discuss Excel logical functions using if, and, or, and the new ifs function. Okay, so this function will be used using multiple criteria with an or function. Okay, first let us discuss this function. So for the the if function runs a logical test and returns one value for a true test and another for a false result. For if functions, instead of using nested if, you can use this if functions. Okay, ifs can take the place of multiple nested if statements and is much easier to read with multiple conditions. The ifs function checks whether one or more conditions are met and returns a value that corresponds to the first true conditions. So the if function can be combined with n function and or functions. For n function, an n function to determine if all conditions in a test are true. So if you want to test the conditions, all conditions should be met, then the n function will be used. But for or functions to determine if any condition in a test are true. So in any condition, if you have at least one logical test that has values true, then the or function will be used. Okay, so take note that the logical function will you use if you want to have a conditional statement. Okay, so let us now apply this function using Excel data. Okay, so I have now my Excel data here. So these are students' records. So as you can see, I have two blank columns here. We have the tuition, discount, and the remarks. So we will get the value of these two columns using these conditions. So we have the first condition for discount. Grade should be greater than or equal to 85 to get the 5% tuition fee discount. If the grade is less than 85, you have 2% tuition fee discount. Okay, so since it has condition, we'll use the if function. Okay, for the if function, so let us use the insert function. So take note that the if function is under the logical category. So you have the if. So if, this is a syntax for logical function or if function, logical test value, comma, value if true, comma, value if false. So you have three arguments to be supplied. So logical test. Okay. So for the logical test is any value or expressions that can be evaluated to true or false. Okay, so on this box, you will type the condition. So our condition is the grade should be greater than or equal to 85. So click now your grade here, grade column. Type the comparison operator, that is greater than or equal to 85. Okay, so value if true, if the value that is returned, if logical test is true. If omitted, true is returned. You can nest to 7 if functions. Okay, so value if true, if this condition has a value true, then you have the value, if true, is get the 5% of the tuition fee. Okay, so therefore, click now your tuition fee data, which is D4 times 5%. To get the 5%, that is asterisk means times 0.05 or 5%. So what if the logical test has a value false or the grade is less than 85? Then get the 2% of the tuition fee for your discount. Okay, so click now the tuition fee again, then times 0.02 or 2%. Okay, so click now OK. So this is now the tuition discount. So double click on the lower right corner. Okay, so you have the tuition discount for every student. Okay, so let us check. Grade is 87. So 5% of the tuition fee. For the grade less than 85, say 83 or 76, 5% of the tuition fee. So 5% of 40,000 is, so less than 85, 2%. So you have 2% of 40,000 is 800. Okay. So for the remarks, you have another condition here. Grade should be greater than or equal to 75. Then the remarks is passed. For if the grade is less than 75, the remarks is failed. So still, we can use the if function. So you can write if function directly if you want. So without using the insert function. So it's the same if logical test, value if true, value if false. So our logical test, the grade. So click grade now. Is greater than or equal to 75. Comma. So logical test, value if true. What is the value if this condition has a value true? So type passed. Okay, comma. Value if false, type failed. Okay, if the value if true and value if false is string or letter, so you have to type double quote between the string. Okay, press enter key now, then drag or simply double click here. Then you have pass or fail. So failed if less than 75. Okay, so that is the if function. So you have the formula for tuition discount and remarks using if function. Okay, so what if you have multiple conditions? So the nested if now will be used. Okay, so for example, we have multiple conditions here. Okay, getting the equivalent grade, letter equivalent grade for this. So we have multiple conditions. So this time we will use the nested if or ifs function. So we will use both nested if and ifs function so that we can compare. Okay. For nested if, of course, so type if function to get the equivalent grade of each grade. So for the grade 95 to 100, the equivalent grade is A+. So type the first condition, the logical test. that is grade. So click your grade now. Column is greater than or equal to 95. Okay. Comma. That's logical test. What is value if true? Or value if true is equivalent grade is A plus. Okay, comma. Value if false. So let us put double quote here because this is a string. So if the first condition is not met, then you have to type another condition. For second condition, 92, 94. So we will type again if here. Okay. So if grade is greater than or equal to 90, so grade, so click first the grade, greater than or equal to 90. Value if true, again. So what is the value if the condition is met? Equivalent grade is A. Okay, comma, value if false, not met, then you have another condition. So you have to type another condition. So you have another if function here. Logical test again. That's greater than or equal to 85. Okay. Now, so you have to click the grade first. Grade is greater than or equal to 85, comma. Your logical value test is B plus. Okay, value if false, so you have another condition. Greater than, if grade, if the grade, so click again the grade, is greater than or equal to 80. That's your logical test. Then value if true, that is B. Okay. Value if false, so if it's still false, you have next condition, 75 to 79. So you have another if here. If your grade is greater than or equal to 75, then your logical test is C plus. Your equivalent grade is C plus, comma, value if false. Since your last condition, this is the last condition. If these conditions, 2, 4, 5, the first 5 conditions were not met, then the last equivalent grade will be displayed. That is your value if false. So therefore type F here. Okay? So let us now count how many open parentheses we have here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you also have 5 close parentheses. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Should be paired. Okay? So you have B plus. Okay, drag or double click. So these are now the equivalent grades using nested if. Okay, so let us test. Grade is 87 or grade is B plus. Okay, the grade is 72. That is F. Less than 75, we have F. Okay, for 80, B. So you have B. Okay, so that is nested if. But later, if you want to have an exact range of grade, so you can also use AND. Every conditions or range of grade. Okay? So for the ifs function, so instead of using nested if, we can also use the ifs function. This ifs function is available in Office 365 and Microsoft 2019. But for the older version of your Excel, ifs function is not available, then the nested if can be used. Okay? So for the ifs function, as you can see, function wizard. So logical, ifs here now is available. Okay? So you have the syntax, ifs, logical test, comma, value if true, comma, then another logical test. Okay? So ifs checks whether one or more conditions are met and returns a value corresponding to the first true condition. So just click OK here. So logical test, the same condition, but this time we will use the ifs function. So first condition, grade should be greater than or equal to 95. So click the grade here, grade column, this J4, type the condition greater than or equal to 95. So if it is true, the value is A plus. Okay. So as you can see, you don't have logical value if false. Instead, you have to type another logical test. Okay. For logical test 2, which is your second condition, if grade is greater than or equal to 90. Okay. Then the value if true is A. So if it is false again, then you have to type your third condition. That is, grade is, click the grade again, greater than or equal to 85. So scroll down here. Value if true is B plus. Okay, so as you can see, if you are using insert function, for the text, you don't need to type quote and quote because it automatically added the quote and quote. Okay. For logical test 4, so you have to type the logical test 4, which is the grade is greater than or equal to 80. So the grade is greater than or equal to 80. Then the logical if true is B. Equivalent grade is B. So you have another condition. The grade is greater than. So click again the grade. Greater than or equal to 75. Value if true is C plus. So you have C plus. Since it has no value if false for ifs function, so you have to type your last condition here, which is if the grade is less than 75, then your value if true is false or F. Okay? Click now OK. So as you can see, the same result using ifs function. So double click. Okay? So compare the two columns. So they have the same result value. Okay? So this is nested if. This one is using ifs function. Okay? So this is now the formula of these two functions. Nested if for this column and ifs for this column. Okay, so if you have for if and or functions, so we'll use the and function. If you want the all conditions must be met, okay, and then the end condition will be used. For the or function, if at least one of the conditions must be met, then the or condition will be used. Okay? So for the end condition, for example, so I have two conditions here. If the quiz grade is greater than or equal to 85, and exam grade should be greater than or equal to 90, the description is above average. Okay? So since this is a condition, you have condition, so we will type the if function. Okay, and you have two conditions. These two conditions must be satisfied, so we will use the end function. So you have the end here, close parenthesis. So you can see end, logical 1, comma, logical 2. Okay, so type your logical 1 or condition 1. Quiz grade is greater than or equal to 85. So quiz grade is here. Should be greater than or equal to 85. So comma. So you have logical 2 again. Logical 2, exam grade should be greater than or equal to 90. So click your exam grade. Should be greater than or equal to 90. Close parenthesis. So we are through with our logical test or condition. So put comma here for second argument, which is value if true. So value if true, if these two conditions are met, then type the word above average. So we have the above average. Okay, comma. For the third argument, which is value if false. But this time, the value if false, I want to leave it blank. So quote and quote and quote only, close parenthesis. Okay. So drag or double click here. So you have two results, data for the above average. So let us check. Quiz is 85 and exam is 95. Also with this, so quiz 88 and exam is 90. So both conditions were met. That's why it executed the description. The rest are empty. Okay, because quiz and exam grade are not satisfied the conditions. Okay, for the or description, or, so this is the or, if quiz grade is greater than or equal to 85, or exam grade is equal to greater than 90. Okay, so the description is average. Okay, so the same condition, but this time using or function. So the same, so type if function. Okay, for two conditions, you will use the or function. So the same, logical 1, comma, logical 2. So your logical 1, quiz grade. So click the quiz grade, greater than or equal to 85, comma, logical 2. exam grade. So click the exam grade. Should be greater than or equal to 90. Okay, so these are the two conditions. So comma for your second argument, value if true, that is average, quote and quote. So type average. Okay, comma, third argument, value if false. So I want to have simply blank. Blank row if not, if both conditions are not met. Okay, or logical test has a value false. Okay, so double click here. So these are the students with average description. Okay, so test, let us test. Quiz grade is 80, not greater than 85, but exam grade is 90. Okay, so same with data number 2. Quiz is not greater than 85, but the exam grade is greater than 90. Okay, so that is the OR function. So this is now the formula for the n and OR function. Okay. So this, I hope that this video will help you a lot. Thank you and see you to my next video.